In Revenge of the Sith, we watched Anakin Skywalker fall. He turned on the Jedi, choked the woman he loved, and burned on Mustafar. That twisted future, Darth Vader, the Emperor's attack dog, felt set in stone. But what if the Force refused that fate? What if, before he fell, Anakin was hurled forward in time and forced to face the monster in the mask himself? What if Anakin Skywalker traveled into the future and killed Darth Vader? In this version of the story, that's exactly what happens, and nothing turns out the same. Let's begin. Anakin stood on Mortis, still shaking. The sun had shown him a future that didn't feel like a warning. It felt like a sentence. The temple is burning, clones gunning down Jedi. Padmé collapsed with his hands still outstretched, his own breath rasping behind a black mask as he knelt to a hooded emperor. He dropped to one knee, fingers grinding into the stone. "I can't let that happen," he whispered. A calm voice answered. "What did my son show you?" The father stood there, ancient and exhausted, eyes sharp. "He showed me what I become," Anakin said. "I turn. I help the Sith. I destroy everything. How do I bring balance if I'm the one who breaks the galaxy?" "Destiny can change," the father said. "But there are currents in the Force that do not move easily." "If that future is real, then I'm not the chosen one," Anakin said. "I'm just a weapon someone else pointed." "For now," the father replied, "unless you learn why you fall." The father weighed his next words like they might split the galaxy. "Perhaps the only way to save you," he said, "is to let you see what happens when no one stops you." Anakin frowned. "What are you saying?" "I can send you forward," the father said, "into the era where your darkness rules. One Anakin will remain here, memories buried, walking the path you saw. The other will travel into the future and decide what to do with the monster that bears your name." It sounded like a Sith trap. "And if I kill him?" Anakin asked. "If I kill me?" "Then the Force will decide what that means," the father said. "Paradox is dangerous, but doing nothing is also a choice. You have seen its result." Engines roared outside. A speeder dropped from the sky. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka ran toward them. "Anakin!" Ahsoka called. "Are you all right?" He wanted to say no. He forced a smile instead. "I'm fine. Mostly." "The sun moves against us," the father said. "Your galaxy is already in danger, but there may be a way to keep your chosen one from becoming its doom." Obi-Wan's eyes narrowed. "What are you planning?" Anakin took a breath. "He wants to send me into the future. One of me stays here, forgetting this ever happened. The other faces what I become." "That's insane," Ahsoka said. "Why not just stop whatever turns him?" Obi-Wan demanded. "If you can show him the future, you can change it now." "Some events must be allowed to unfold," the father said. "The prophecy is a knot in time. Pull too hard and everything unravels, but if a thread is lifted out for a moment, we may learn how to avoid the worst." Obi-Wan still hated it. Anakin saw that. But the burning temple, Padmé falling, the black armor, it drowned out the doubt. He stepped forward and hugged his master. "I'll find you," Anakin said. "Somewhere, somewhen. I promise." Ahsoka grabbed both of them. "You better! You're not allowed to leave me with just Obi-Wan." "Hey!" Obi-Wan protested, voice unsteady. A distant roar shuddered through the temple. The sun was coming. "We must act now," the father said. He raised his hands. "You will confront your future self alone, but you may seek counsel from your master. In his time, he will be near your family." "My family?" Anakin began, but light swallowed the word. Mortis vanished. For Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, it was over in a blink. They opened their eyes in their ship, Rex calling over the comlink, both with the sense that something had happened and slipped away. For Anakin, everything tore open. He hurtled through a tunnel that wasn't space. Light and darkness twisted around him. Time broke into images. A sandy-haired boy, a girl with a blaster, a black helmet turning toward him. Then he hit the ground. He lay in soft grass, staring at blue sky. A familiar lake shimmered in the distance. Naboo. He sat up. No armor, no scars, still himself. He walked toward the city with his hood up. The guards on patrol didn't wear the blue and silver he remembered. Their armor was white and segmented, blank visors hiding every face. Not clones, not stormtroopers. Something in between. In the central square, a massive hologram flickered to life. a hooded man with a ruined face and yellow eyes. "Citizens of the Empire," the voice said. Empire. He didn't need the name under the hollow, but it burned there anyway. Emperor Palpatine. Anakin turned away and saw the monument. Stone steps led to a terrace above the lake. A single white tomb sat beneath a mural of a young woman addressing the Senate. Padmé Amidala. His knees hit the ground. He stared at her name until it blurred. His mother had died in his arms, and he'd sworn no one he loved would die helpless again. Now, here was proof he'd failed the person he'd tried hardest to protect. The bright chorus of the Jedi was gone from the Force. There were sparks, faint, scattered, hunted. This was the world Darth Vader had helped build, and it wore his face. He rose slowly. "If I did this," he whispered, "then I'm going to fix it." The father had said Obi-Wan would be near his family. Anakin didn't know what that meant, but he knew Obi-Wan. If any light was left, his old master would be standing in front of it. He followed old instincts and older codes, tracing whispers of resistance until the same name kept surfacing in quiet conversations and encrypted channels. Bail Organa. Coruscant's skyline had changed. Where the temple had stood, a black palace now loomed, imperial banners hanging from every surface. The order was gone. The senator's apartments were guarded, but not like a prison. The Empire liked Bail as decoration. Anakin waited until he stepped out alone, cloak pulled tight, eyes hollowed by loss. "Senator," Anakin said quietly. Bail spun, blaster already in hand. He fired twice. The bolts curved away. "Anakin Skywalker is dead," Bail hissed. "I saw the temple burn. I watched Padmé die because of what you became." "It's not me," Anakin said, hands raised. "Not yet." There was no sane way to explain Mortis, so he didn't. He spoke instead about campaigns only he and Obi-Wan had survived, choices only they had made, arguments no one else had heard. Little by little, Bail's shoulders dropped. "You look younger," he said. "Before Mustafar." "Before all of it," Anakin said. So Bail told him the rest. Order 66, clones storming the temple, the duel on Mustafar, Padmé dying with Anakin's name on her lips, and the black figure that rose in his place. By the end, Anakin didn't need more details. Mortis had been right. Naboo had been real. There was no maybe left. "I need to find Obi-Wan," Anakin said. "If there's a chance to fix this, he's part of it." Bail hesitated, then gave him a single word. Tatooine. The trail led to Tatooine. Anakin rode anonymous freighters to Mos Eisley, bought a land speeder, spoke briefly with Owen Lars and a wide-eyed farm boy named Luke, then followed rough directions into the Yundland wastes until a small stone hut appeared on the horizon. "Hello there," a voice said. Anakin turned. Obi-Wan stood on a ridge, gray hair and beard, one hand on a walking stick, the other near his saber. For a heartbeat, they just stared. The last time Obi-Wan had seen Anakin's eyes, they'd been sulfurous yellow over a river of lava. Now they were blue again. Young. Afraid. "No," Obi-Wan whispered. "This isn't real." "It's me," Anakin said. "Before Mustafar, before Vader. I can explain, but can we do it inside?" They sat in the cramped hut. Obi-Wan kept his saber close. Anakin told him everything: Mortis, the vision, the father's plan, Naboo, Padmé's tomb, the Empire. As he spoke, Obi-Wan's eyes drifted, chasing echoes. A blinding light, a promise, the father's voice. "You were sent forward to confront your dark self," Obi-Wan murmured. "And I was told I would be near your family." "Family," Anakin repeated. "You've said that twice." Obi-Wan hesitated. The secret he'd carried for years pressed against his teeth. "Padmé didn't just die," he said quietly. "She had children, a boy and a girl, Luke and Leia." Silence hit like a blow. "Luke," Anakin said. "The boy at the farm." Obi-Wan nodded. "He's your son." Leia was taken by Bail. It was the only way to keep them safe from Vader. The vision on Mortis wasn't just about what he'd done. It was about what he'd abandoned. "I have to stop him," Anakin said. "Not for me, for them, for everyone." Obi-Wan looked at him and for the first time in years, saw his brother instead of his failure. I don't know where Vader spends his days, Obi-Wan said. Hatred leaves a scar, not a map. But there are rumors of a fortress on Mustafar, a castle built on the place where you fell. Of course he'd build a throne on his own ruin. I'll go, Anakin said. Alone. The father said, I have to face him myself. Then you'll need a ship and credits, Obi-Wan said. I don't have either. They went back to Mos Eisley, found a smug Corellian pilot named Han Solo and his Wookiee partner, and bought passage to Mustafar with the only currency smugglers respected, a live lightsaber ignited in the middle of the cantina. Hours later, the Falcon tore out of Tatooine's orbit and jumped to hyperspace. Anakin watched the stars blur. I'm going to fight myself, he said. The future is fragile, Obi-Wan warned. Killing Vader may not fix what you think. You might break more than you mend. Maybe, Anakin said, but letting him live breaks everything. Mustafar waited. Rivers of lava, a black sky, and a fortress clawed out of the rock. Han stayed high while Anakin took a stolen shuttle down to a maintenance platform and slipped inside alone. Cold air fought the outside heat. Dark-robed acolytes stared. He stunned those who reached for weapons. In the central chamber, a metal pod hung from the ceiling like a coffin. The presence inside hit him first, a gravity well of rage and regret wrapped around a buried flicker of something smaller. The pod opened. Darth Vader stepped out. The black armor was worse in person. Heavy boots, chest panel, curved helmet swallowing the man inside. Vader paused. Impossible, he said, voice metallic and flat. Anakin's blue saber hissed to life. I've been hearing that a lot. They stood 10 paces apart, the Jedi Knight who hadn't fallen yet and the Sith Lord who had. You're me, Anakin said. What I become if nobody stops it. The Force churned between them. I came here to give you a choice, Anakin said. Walk away from him, or I end this now. Vader answered by raising a hand. Invisible fingers clamped around Anakin's throat and lifted him. Air vanished. Then you know, Vader said, what I was, what I sacrificed, what he promised. Spots burst in Anakin's vision. He forced the panic down, reached up with the Force, ripped a slab of ceiling free, and slammed it into Vader's side. The grip broke. Anakin hit the floor, rolled, came up with his saber ready. Red light ignited. They collided. It was like fighting a reflection in shattered glass. Anakin moved fast, all Clone Wars instinct and fury. Vader's strikes were slower but brutal. Every swing meant to break him. Sparks flew as blue hammered against red. You think killing me will save them, Vader growled, driving him toward a narrow bridge. The Emperor will choose another, cut off his fist, and he becomes the storm. At least he won't wear my face, Anakin shot back. They crashed out onto a bridge over lava. Heat blasted up at them. Vader pressed, forcing him toward the edge. Anakin flipped over him, blade angling for the chest panel. Vader twisted. Sparks flew as the tip grazed metal instead of cutting through. You remember Mustafar, Anakin said. Padmé, the temple, the clones who followed you. Is there anything left of you that cares? For a heartbeat, the red blade faltered. I remember, Vader said, and it changes nothing. He came down with a two-handed strike that nearly drove Anakin to his knees. Mechanical strength crashed into living muscle. Pain tore up his arms. This was what awaited him: burned lungs, steel bones, a life as someone else's weapon. No, he whispered. He didn't loosen his grip on the saber. He loosened his grip on fear, the fear that the future was fixed, that the prophecy was a cage. He shifted, stepped aside, and let Vader's weight carry him forward. For an instant, the Sith Lord overbalanced. Anakin moved. Blue light carved across the helmet, ripping it open. Vader dropped to one knee, hand flying to his face. Anakin saw his own eyes staring back at him. Yellow, exhausted, buried in hate. Look at yourself, Anakin said. Is this worth everyone you lost? The answer lay in the scars. I'm sorry, Anakin said. He drove his saber through Vader's chest. Silence fell. The yellow in Vader's eyes thinned, washed out by something softer, almost blue. Don't make my mistake, Vader rasped. Then the light went out. The armor hit the bridge with a dull, final clang. Anakin shut off his saber. It was done. The monster he was supposed to become lay dead at his feet. The Force screamed. It wasn't sound. It was a tearing in reality, like the galaxy had just realized something vital was missing. The air shook. Lava surged. The sky flickered. Images slammed into Anakin's mind like recoil. Palpatine on a higher throne. A new masked enforcer kneeling where Vader should have stood. A rebellion crushed before it formed. Luke and Leia growing up in a galaxy where the Emperor ruled forever because no one powerful enough to oppose him had ever existed. The bridge cracked. Fire swallowed the black armor. Light swallowed Anakin. He was back in the tunnel. Time didn't drift now. It collapsed. Futures shattered into shards. Luke screaming, Leia in chains, a metal moon firing on helpless worlds. Then everything stopped. He stood again in the Father's chamber on Mortis. The Father looked older, as if Anakin's choice had added centuries. "You did it," the Father said. "You killed your shadow." Anakin's hands shook. "I made it worse." "You pulled out a piece of the pattern without understanding what it held," the Father said. "Your future self was a monster, but he was also the one who would have destroyed the last Sith and fulfilled the prophecy in his own broken way." "So I'm supposed to accept that?" Anakin snapped. "Become him? Let all that pain happen just so time stays neat?" "No," the Father said. "That is why I brought you back before the Not Titans. You've seen where the easy path leads. You've seen what happens when you try to cheat destiny by cutting around it. Now you have one chance to face the real cause." The chamber faded. Wind roared. Anakin blinked and stood in an office he knew too well. Coruscant, the Chancellor's private suite. Mace Windu over a scarred, cowering Palpatine, purple blade at the Sith Lord's throat. Lightning scars crawled across the glass. Outside, the war was ending. "Don't," Sidious wheezed. "You must choose, Anakin. Only I have the power to save the one you love." In the real timeline, this was where he broke. Fear won. Mace fell. Vader rose. This time, Anakin remembered Padmé's tomb, Vader's mask, the way the Force had shrieked when he stabbed his future self and watched something worse rush in to fill the vacuum. His saber snapped to life. Mace tensed, bracing for betrayal. Sidious smiled, certain he'd won again. Anakin stepped between them and turned his blade on the Sith. Palpatine had just enough time to look stunned. "You're not the only one who can change the future," Anakin said. He drove his saber straight through the Chancellor's chest. Lightning flared, then died. Palpatine slumped to the floor, the smell of scorched robes filling the room. Mace stared. "What have you done?" "What I was supposed to do," Anakin said. "End the Sith, before they end all of us." He felt emptied out, but for the first time in years, the storm inside him was quiet. Somewhere far away, the timeline bent. In this future, the Death Star was never approved. The Inquisitorius was never founded. The Black Suit was never forged. On Mustafar, the lava still burned, but it did not burn him. Years later, some would say balance came the moment Anakin killed the last Sith. Others would say it came from what he helped rebuild afterward. For now, the Council argued, the Senate panicked, and the Republic staggered into a fragile peace. Anakin was finally made a master on the condition that the Order change, less fear of attachment, more honesty about emotion. Padmé lived to give birth in safety. Luke and Leia grew up arguing over training sabers instead of blasters, with Bail, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka woven into their lives by choice, not desperation. And sometimes, in the middle of the night, Anakin would wake up sure he could hear mechanical breathing at the edge of his thoughts. He would remember the bridge over lava, the yellow eyes behind the cracked mask, the way the Force screamed when he killed Vader without killing the cause. Then he would look at his children asleep across the room, feel Padmé's hand find his, and let that memory go. Because that timeline had collapsed. It was a warning, not a cage. And sometimes the hardest victory is the one where nobody else even knows you changed the story at all. What if Anakin Skywalker traveled into the future and killed Darth Vader? Maybe the Jedi wouldn't return as legends or martyrs. Maybe peace wouldn't come through sacrifice on a Death Star or a son's last plea, but through one impossible choice made before the fall ever started. Because redemption isn't the end. It's the moment you decide not to become the thing you're terrified of being. If you enjoyed this alternative timeline, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Star Wars stories, and may the Force be with you.